Now after I knitted a while, you see what happened? I had a couple of needles pop out over here. That's because I'm about to do the top of the one, and it has some stitches that are over to that side. So what I'm going to do is wrap outside that first selected needle and just keep on doing what I've been doing. Now when you hear the machine beep, you're on the last row. So I'm going to knit this last row. It still says 20 in the window. It's a 20 stitch tall one. I'll knit this last row, and then I'm going to switch to the plain orange color. I'm going to cut my white yarn. Then to switch to the plain orange, I use this little lever right here to cancel that button. I also take it from KC to N on that selector dial, and I'm just going to knit 2 rows. Now to spruce up my design a little bit, let's have 1 row of white. I had white in the upper feeder. And then we're going to have 1 row of black, which I'm going to just feed with my hands. Now we're just going to do 2 rows of the burnt orange and shape the top of the golf club cover. Now you certainly don't have to do such a nice top shaping as I do on this, but as a big garter bar fan, this is a wonderful garter bar job. You take the garter bar stopper and you run the needles out and drop the stopper so that it's behind all of the yarn, and then you move the knitting back against the gate pegs, and what you find is that the moving the knitting opens all of the hooks. Then it's really very easy to put the garter bar on the hooks, and then reaching back and pulling the knitting onto the garter bar. If you don't have a garter bar, you can do this with waste yarn. You would take your knitting off on waste yarn and you would transfer it by hand. You would pick it back onto the work. Now, one of the things you can do to open the hooks as you go is just slide the garter bar back a little bit. Now, I'm putting 5 stitches on the needles. I squish them on with my finger, and then I'm doing a decrease, so I take a step to the left, which doubles up the stitch on this needle, and I put 5 down. And I just make sure I don't split the yarn and that I get it all on hook. A step to the left, put 5 more down. And I keep doing that. It goes surprisingly quickly until I've gone all the way across this row and reduced by quite a few stitches. This gives a smooth, rounded shaping to the top of the golf club cover. If you didn't mind gathers, you could just gather. But I want it to look great because I'm going to use it for a charity auction. I ended with 4, doesn't matter. The fact that there's a remainder is not a problem. I lift my stopper off Now, this is very important. You have to remove these empty needles. Otherwise, you get a tangle. Then I knit 2 rows. Now I move the stitches in groups of 5. This time I will move the stitches in groups of 4. This is one of those jobs that would probably be more than a little bit easier if I removed the ribber altogether, but I can do it with the ribber there. And now I'm going to do in groups of 4. Just wiggle back a little to open all my latches and put 4 stitches on. Notice that my decreases are never right on the edge. I always do some number before I do a decrease, and then I do 4 again. Take my step over and do 4 again. And I'll do that until I've used all the stitches again. I'm going to remove my stopper and knit 2 rows. Now this is a wonderful technique for shaping the top of a hat as well. It'll look like you sat and hand knitted it and very carefully did a perfect little round shaping. But nope, we're just doing it quickly with the garter bar. That was 4. This time I'm going to do the decreasing in groups of 3. Put 3 down, take a step over, put 3 down again, do that on across. At some point, even 1 ribber weight is too much, so I'll take the ribber weight off. You'll know, it'll just feel too heavy on the garter bar. It's too much weight. Now the only weight that's on the knitting is the ribber comb, and that's a fair amount of weight just by itself. Once again, I've removed my stopper and I'm knitting 2 rows. Last decrease. Put my stopper on, my stitches back, grab my garter bar. Now I'm going to move in groups of 2, which almost doubles up the stitches. Now, have you ever heard the instruction to sew off the stitches? That's what we're going to do. Let me get this equipment off, get the empty needles back out of work, and I'm going to knit 2 rows, cut myself a nice long piece of yarn for sewing up later, and because it's handy, I'm going to use my double-eyed tool and sew off the stitches. I thread the yarn in the tool, put my needles in hold, and I'm just going to pick the stitches off the needles onto the tool. Here's our finished golf club cover. You're going to draw the thread up at the top, and I usually sew through it again. That way it'll stay drawn up. And it'll need a mattress stitch seam running all the way down and matching the stripes. And here's how the front looks. An easy, easy, fun project. I hope you'll try it.